BAXA probably going to be going, well, not probably, definitely be going a little bit out of sequence on this one. Waiting on parts, and I got to get this out of my way. So pull your seal out. On this bearing here, you want to make sure it's pushed all the way back. You can buy from Sonax, there's a shim that you can put on your torque converter hub that'll keep this bearing pushed back. I just stake them in place once it's all the way back. On your seal, look in here, it may be hard to see. There's little lines on this. You want to make sure your lines are facing the same direction, and sometimes, like on this one, it's got an arrow. You want to make sure the arrow is facing the same direction. On your new seal, and our arrow is pointing the same direction, our lines are going the same direction. I put my front seals in dry. Flush. Alright, match up your axle seal. Grease it up a little. Lever seal, this side's going to face in. Just lube it up really well. Alright, gotta get this out the way. Alright, normally I would just start building that case half up. And since I don't have my main valve body, we can't do that. Now on this body here, pull these two valves out. You got the springs and the valves. The end plugs I've already thrown away because I'm going to put Sonax end plugs in there. And I did forget on the disassembly part to include these end plugs in there. And if you want to put the Transgo Honda LK2 kit in the valve body, you'll need to purchase that. This does several transmissions. Not just one, and it's got enough to do like 5 or of one kind. But you'll need that if you're going to do that. Forgive my throat. It's really scratchy today for some reason. I don't know what the deal is. So you're going to pull these two valves out of here for sure. Whether you do the end plugs or anything else, you need to pull these all the way out. Get you a wire brush, and it doesn't even have to be wire, it can be plastic. You can get gun cleaning kits, have them. The one I use is one I got from GM when I worked there, and it does the throttle body ports. Basically looks like this, but it's metal. And you're just gonna get in here, run we have a safety clean machine, so I'm running solvent and I'm just brushing this back and forth, cleaning out any debris that's in there. And then get you some Scotch-Brite or really fine sandpaper. I use the green Scotch-Brite. You can go down the grocery aisle and it's green. You can get a package of it. You can get a great big package of it, or used to be able to get it for $5. I have no idea what it is now, but it's enough to last you a lifetime doing this. But you definitely want to take these all the way out, do that. Then the best stuff is arrow coil. If you're not going to use arrow coil, get you some PB Blast. It works the second best. Everything else, not so much. But this stuff here is amazing. So just lube it up really well. Drop it in there with your spring. Get you a magnet and just work this thing back and forth. And what you're looking for is that valve to just drop all on its own. And of course it's sitting on the spring right there. There it's all the way down, but you just want to make sure this valve is extremely free. Then you can get you the Sonax end plug. It's a small one. Lube it up. On this tranny here, these clips come in from the top. And I find my clips. Usually I don't have this mess sitting here like that. I think they're still at the clean machine. I might have left them out there. Go ahead and get this one ready. And another end plug. Alright, let me go find my clips. I think I left them out there. Yes, I did. Alright, this model, these come in from the front. And you want to make sure that end plug is pushed back against the clip. You do not want it pushed in, as it may not stroke the valve. Alright, this one does not have an end plug. This one does. We're going to change it out. Alright, this one's a medium-sized one. You can get 3 different size plugs. If you want to do all of the plugs, you're going to need 2 kits. If you just want to do the one kit, you're going to want to do your CPC valves and your lockup valves. No need to pull the rest of these valves all the way out. A reverse servo. Most kits comes with the stator O-ring in there. I do not use this stator O-ring. I'll show you what I do instead. We have accumulators up here. Both of these accumulators are the same. Both springs are the same, so you don't have to worry about screwing those up. You can lube that O-ring up if you want to. Okay, this is going to go on top of there, and it goes this way. This is our bolts for this section. This is our separator plate for that. Let's keep that all together. This tube and these bolts and this detent go to the main valve body, which is not here right now. Okay, on this body here, if you're going to do the younger kit, they give you a small drill bit and a large drill bit. Your large drill bit, you're going to drill this hole right here, 156 thousandths. Deburr that when you're done. Small drill bit, they want you to drill this passage into this passage. Now you can go from over here into here, you can go from over here into here, you can go from here to here. I do it from here to here. There's a lot more room right here. It's very easy to break this drill bit, so be very careful. And if you break it off in there, it's a pain to get it back out. You can get it back out, but it's a pain. If you're going to do that kit, you first want to make sure that you're able to. You want to make sure nobody's been in here and changed this valve out. As Sonax makes a valve that you can put in here that does the same thing. And if you look at this back here, there's a little hole drilled into this. If this valve land right here has a hole drilled in it all the way, you cannot put the younger kit in there, or the Transgo kit. I always call them younger, but so we're good to go. We can put that kit in here. You got middle spring, inner spring, outer spring. This bolt has a little nipple on it and it has to fit inside that slot. This is going to move back and forth. So line your hole up, push it down, and start your bolt in by hand. You want to make sure it gets up into that groove before you tighten it down. Okay, we got 4 tubes here. We have an end plug in here. It's a small one. On all your end plugs, you want to make sure that they're back out against the clip that holds them in place. Get the little twist if you can. It helps keep from cutting that O-ring as you're putting it in. Okay. Now we're good on that body. This is our bolts for that. This is our detent for reverse. It goes this way. Nope, goes this way. Our manual linkage. Alright, on our stator, it comes with this thin black O-ring. And that's the one that's in this package here. In your kit, if you do a Transtech kit, you're going to get 2 O-rings. This one here goes on your torque converter. This darker one here, not sure where it goes, but I've been putting it on the stator. I had a buddy of mine show me this. It fits very snug, so you have to lube it up really well. And you're going to want to put it in this body before you set it down, because this one you can just put the O-ring on, slide this over it, and it won't cut it. You will cut this O-ring if you try to just stick it on there. So you're going to have to work it in there and make sure that you're not cutting the O-ring, get it in place, and then set the whole thing down together. And this body here Now there's no need to take this out. I'll just take it out to show you what's in there. I'm gonna have to remember not to forget to tighten it because I never take it off. There are 2 check balls up inside of there. There's no need to take this off. There's nothing ever wrong inside there. In fact, I think what I probably ought to do, because I will probably forget, is put that bolt to line it up and then tighten it down. Because I don't know when my valve body's going to show up. Alright, you got a big accumulator, small accumulator, inner and outer spring on both. Make sure you get the right O-ring for it. And we got these wire clips that hold these in. You're going to want to put the opening away from the slot there. Just make sure it's all the way up in there. You don't actually have to have these clips, it's just to make it easier to put it in. But I would put them in because it does make it easier. Not quite in there. There we go. Alright, this is just a plug. There's no need to take it out. This is our bolts for that. When you're doing the Transgo kit, it's going to give you a new spring for here on this check valve. So whichever, well, we're doing a BAXA, so it calls for the black spring, and it calls for 2 notches on our little stop. So we're going to swap this spring out for this setup here. We got all of our dowel pins, our stop for stator, and our main valve body will have 218 thousandths of ball and a spring that sits on top. So that's all I can do right now until my valve body shows up. I got to move on to another training. That's why I had to get this off of my bench. I got the parts finally showed up for it. Of course, the one you start working on, they never start showing up for what you got first. It's always for something you don't have. So yeah, I guess that's it for right now. Okay, down inside the drums, there's an O-ring, one on each side. O-ring on the outside of your piston here. Pick the one that fits the best without being too tight or too loose. A return spring. And we're going to have new balanced pistons. Make sure that they're the same height. Snap rings have a taper to them. You want the short end to have the taper up. We're going to put the opening in between these raised areas here. Go ahead and do both of these while I'm over there. Alright, short end of the taper up on this one as well. Okay, this side takes no cushion plate. Let's see where our steels are. 90 thousandths. The clutches are the same on both sides of this drum. The ones that go in this drum are different. They're a little bit wider. And we got our cushion ring. And our steels are 79 thousandths. Come on. Get down in there. Let's see, our pressure plates 112. Snap ring 69. I guess we should, I don't think we measured this. I'll tell you what these are. 112. 74 on the snap ring there. And make sure I did put these on the right side. Yes. Our counter shaft has 3 O-rings here. So you're going to have extra O-rings in your kit. It fits different pistons, so don't be concerned about that. Okay, sometimes I do not even change these rings. It all depends on what they look like in the kit. These I could probably put on there and they'll be okay. Some of these kits, these things are sticking out there. Oh, these are actually metal rings, so that's fine. Some of these are sticking way out there. You know, they're generally on there like this. This one's a plastic ring that came on it. I actually kind of like the metal ones better. Plastic ones go together like that, and then some kits are sticking out there just like that. Trying to get these things to stay down. If they're sticking way out like that, I wouldn't change them. You're probably going to break it trying to get it on the shaft down in the case. So don't be too concerned if you can't change these out. They work just fine. Yeah, broke that one trying to get it off. I try not to break them anymore because you never know what's going to happen. I've seen plenty of these broke into kits also. So try to keep your old rings just in case you happen to break one trying to put it in or something, because otherwise you're buying a whole nother kit. Okay, usually I'm doing this in a hole in the table. Makes it a whole lot easier. Lube up your O-rings. Put your shaft in. Flat bearing. Cage bearing. Gear. Bearing, the recessed side facing in. There are 2 half-moon clips, and this retainer, recessed side facing this way. Go over those clips. All right, our clip. It's a little out of shape. Short end of the taper facing out towards us again. Blind washer, flat bearing, cage bearing, or gear, and a flat bearing on top. Alright, check our clearance here on our gear. You can put a bearing on the top here and check your clearance on this gear here. Unless you've changed something, it shouldn't be wrong. So we can do the other drum. Alright, get our correct piston here. Alright, here again we're going to pick the O-ring that fits the best. It doesn't fit too loose, doesn't fit too tight. That's way too loose. That's way too loose. And one there. O-ring in the center. On these little check valves, you do want to check to make sure that they hold fluid, and then when you release them that it does go through. I've only ever seen one bad, and I've been doing Hondas, a lot of Hondas. They just hardly ever bad, but it does happen. Okay, I'm going to go do both sides again. Okay, let's make sure we get the right side on the right side. Okay, we have a dished cushion plate, our cushion. The cone goes up. Our steel's 100 thousandths. Yeah, we may have to get some different steels. That is fitting way too snug. See what it fits like when it gets in there. It may be okay. And our pressure plate, 98, snap ring, 69, our cushion, or cone up again, steel's 89, pressure plate, 98, snap ring, 69, we have 3 O-rings again. Okay, these sealing rings here, I usually always change them. If you do come across some that are in really good shape, you might want to save them. Or if you ever get a converter that likes to melt down, these sealing rings right here will start to melt. And it's always good to have an extra set on hand. These are scarf cut and go together just like so. Try not to bend them out too far, just enough to get it onto the groove it needs to be on. If you need to put grease down in the channel to hold these in, by all means do it. Alright, we have our race flat bearing, cage bearing, flat bearing. It's going to go on here. Lube up our O-rings. Down. Have our collar flat bearing, 2 cage bearings. Gear. Flat bearing race. Here again you can check clearance on your gears. Here again, if you haven't changed anything, everything should be okay. Let's see. I think that's about it until the rest of our valve body shows up. Okay, we can finish up this part of our valve body now. It finally showed up. So we have a medium-sized, I think it's a medium-sized one. Let me check it here. It's a large one. So we'll put a large one in here. This one, on the large ones, you got to be kind of careful. They usually fit kind of tight, and you want to make sure that it gets back against that retainer. Sometimes it's not as easy to get it to come back out. So try to go just enough to get the retainer in there. Let's see if we can get that in there now. Just a tad bit more. Alright, so the battery already died. I swore I put a brand new one in there, but I guess I didn't. Medium-sized one here. Small one here, or might be another medium. Another medium. I don't have another medium. Looks like I need two. So let's stick this back in here for the momentary until I can go find a couple mediums. That one's a large one, so we can go ahead and do it. Kind of tight fitting. Small one here. Looks like we need 3 mediums. So let me hunt up 3 mediums and we'll be back. Okay, so if you want to do every end plug in this transmission, you're going to have to buy 3 of those end plug kits from Sonax. Actually, 4, I think, to get all enough to do the mediums. They should sell them separately. That way you can customize your own, since they don't give you enough to do all of them. Like I say, the problematic ones are your CPC valves and your lockup valves. Those are the ones you need to be most concerned with. Let's see if we can get this last one out. Sometimes they can be a little difficult. And you have to be careful that you don't make your valves scratched or your valve lands. Alright, get up in there. Good to go. Alright, let me get a case up here, and then we'll get going on putting it in the case. On this section here, we got 3 dowel pins. Separator plate. Our drive gear for our pump. Driven gear, the ring goes down. Pivot, or the pin. Now this is the way I do mine. I put my linkage in is this way. This piece facing up with the pin. Put our linkage on here. And I just set it all in at one time. Put this in low gear. We got 10mm and 3 12s. The 12s are 1" 544. The 10 is 1" 405. We got a tube. Tube is 8 5/8 long. Our accumulator body. We got these bolts go here. And let's measure those. 400. All 4 of these should be the same. These 2 1" 789. We got 2 dowel pins here. Our separator plate. Our servo body. We want this recessed side right here to be pointing pretty much towards the counter shaft, or the secondary shaft. I mean, yes, the counter shaft. Sorry. Get these in their right spot. Okay, we're going to start over here. We'll work our way around 2-inch 402, 2-inch 786, 2-inch 793, 1-inch, 2-inch 793, 1-inch 592, 2-inch 790, same, 2-inch 400. Cover on here. These bolts are 4 3/4. Okay, we got 2 dowel pins here. We have our 218 thousandths ball goes there. Spring on top. We got our Transgo spring that we're putting in, the spacer, and our plunger. And they give you a tool to, when you push this down, there's a hole in there that you're supposed to make sure that fits. I have never had one that did not fit. Our separator plate. Lube up our O-ring. Make sure that we get up inside of there without cutting it. Alright, we're already trying to cut it. There we go. Ah, I had it. Alright, make sure it's flat up against there. And then just set it on top. And we'll get our bolts in here. And our stop. Alright, we'll start here and work our way around. Inch 200, 2-inch 788. Same. This should be the same. Should be the same. Same. 3-inch 384, 2-inch 588. Alright, I don't think they sent me my filter. Pardon my throat, I've been sick the last few weeks. Can't seem to shake it. Alright, let's measure our tubes. These two up here are 6 inches 3/8. These 2 inches 802. All three of those. And a short one over here. It's 1 inch and 61 thousandths. Make sure these are the same, but they should be. Yeah, don't want to come out, but it should be the same. Okay, I've got to have my filter. We can go ahead and put the diff in. On this side over here we got our oil slinger and our race. Usually they just drop in. Differential goes in. Counter shaft, main shaft, secondary shaft, here we go. Alright, got to get my filter. Alright, we have short filter bolts. It's 1 inch 83 thousandths. The long one is 3 inch 575. Two bolts for reverse and fourth detent are 4 inch 946. Okay, we have our cage bearing, our gear. Here's our old gear. Let's see how rounded the teeth are, which means that the slider is just as bad. Okay, our hub, the recessed area faces up. On our slider, the flatter side faces down, the recessed side faces up. And it looks like they may have given us the wrong slider. Oh, it's going. I don't know why it didn't want to fit down a second ago. Alright, what's the damage? Usually you just slide right on. There we go. We have a shoulder bolt and our little keeper. This flat side of the keeper is going to sit right on top. And we're just a little bit off. Bend our little tab over, lock it in place. Have our gear, cage bearing. This other gear goes on top. We got our 3 dowel pins, they are all the same. Hopefully I didn't just rip the wrong gasket. You need to pick the right gasket for your application, and I did rip it, the wrong one. Of course, right in here is our difference. See how that's not quite where it needs to be? So, I'm gonna have to come up with a gasket. We're at a standstill. Okay, we got our adjustable shim, our slinger, and our race. We're going to put some grease in there to hold that all in place because it's just going to fall back out. Reverse idler gear. Notice the ID mark, that's going to face out. It'll be facing up towards us once we get the case half on. I'll get the case half on, get the bolts in place, and then we'll measure them. There's a magnet on your drain plug, there's a magnet right here. Go ahead and clean those out. There we have this bracket. Goes in the corner over here. We have this bracket. Goes right over here. And I don't know if this is going to get a good view. Yeah, this bracket is going to go right here. And it looks like they kept a bracket out there that goes right here for the ground bolt to. Alright, we're going to start right here and we'll work our way around. Just 2" 710. (2" 705. Basically the same. 5" 275. We'll leave this one as the same. Yes. (5" 263. 4" 677. Same. 3" 160. 4" 691. Same. 5" 286. Same. 3" 96 thousandths. 2" 719. Same. And same. 14 millimeters. Move our reverse idler in place. And you'll notice there's a notch out on this right here. It sits inside that little notch right there. Two 10 millimeters, 1 inch. We have our spring. This little leg's going to go around that dowel pin right there, or roll pin. This is going to sit in there just like that. There are different numbers of these. There's 3 different ones. If you haven't changed anything, it's not going to affect anything. There is a measurement for it. This little leg's going to sit right in there. Another shoulder bolt. Bend that little tab over. Put our park gear down. May have to move the camera to do this. Our flat bearing, cage bearing, and our gear. This side goes up. Flat bearing, and this on top. This gear goes over here. This gear goes with this side down. All three have a dished washer. The dish goes down. Two are right hand threads, one is left hand. The one that has the arrow is the left hand threads. You can see that arrow right there. Okay, before you go staking your nuts down, put your finger or thumb or whatever on your park gear. You should be able to turn these other gears by hand. If you can't, then you've missed a clutch somewhere. And stake those in place. Pivot pin, spring. Springs are going to go up inside that hole. our stop. Put this all the way into park. Your measurement is from this pin, center of this pin, to center of this pin. 2-inch 740 to 2-inch 780. And that's pretty much what it is. We're at 2,770, and that's pretty close. I mean, all you're concerned with is it putting in park, and it is. So we can move that back out. Pick the proper gasket. No tubes up here to oil this gear. Is this gasket. The ones that has tubes is this gasket. You got 2 dowel pins that go in here. One goes here, one goes here. I just leave them wherever they get stuck in. And they'll line up, it doesn't matter. Alright, there's 3 O-rings that are a little bit fatter than the others. Go on these tubes. Usually, not always, but usually they get stuck in these washers. This one, 2 of them was the right one was the wrong one. But like I say, normally they're stuck in here. Okay, we got to do our end cover, and then we can put that on. So let me change camera angles so that you can see that better. I don't know if we can get through this before the battery dies. Right, get your pair of snap ring pliers and pull this out. Let's see if this was upside down. Yes, it was. Alright, pull your tube out. Up inside of here is an O-ring. On your shafts here, there's bushings down inside your main shaft and your secondary shaft. To find out if your bushings are bad, just take you a single layer of cellophane tape and put across here. Don't double it up, just make it single. Slide it down inside of your bushing. If it pushes the tape off, your bushing's okay. If it doesn't, then I would be replacing my bushings, but it's not as common as people like to think that it is. There's different kits for different ones, not all of them do they make a kit for. Put your O-ring down in here first. This shaft has to line up, and those tabs right there. Sometimes you have to get kind of creative on replacing these bushings, and they don't always sell the bushings for every one of these, but most of them are the same, so you can buy it for different tranny, but it's hard to say which ones are which. Sometimes when you're doing them, you got to get really creative. These units here are usually you can get the bushings for them. I haven't had to replace the bushings, and I can't even remember when. Not saying it doesn't happen, because it does. It's just not that common. Alright, we got another O-ring just like the others here. Alright, that one's fitting too loose, so we're going to have to take it and stretch it out. You gotta be careful when you're doing it, and you're going to want to put it in there pretty quickly after you stretch it out. Get it to the right size. Here again, you got to line that up. And the short end of the taper up again. Alright, get on there. Quit jacking with me. Might be just a little bit big. Alright, there we go. Now we're down in there. Alright, let me change camera angles and batteries. We'll put the rest of this together. Alright. Get your housing on here. Pressure switch down here is usually black. Sometimes you get the washers in the kit, sometimes you don't. If you don't get them, just flat file them. Second gear pressure switch. Oh my God, so I had the cover on the whole time. Well, that sucks because I can't go back. Alright, second gear pressure switch back here. Usually it comes with a washer. This pressure switch here has a washer on it. Sometimes you get them in the kit, sometimes you don't. Let's go back through this real quick. These are the bolts for the speed sensors and the shift solenoids. This one's usually got a green dot, this one's usually got a yellow dot. Black shift solenoid on top, brown one on the bottom. These are the bolts for here. This bracket goes there, that bracket goes there. These are the tubes I was talking about. You got the O-rings that go here. Gasket goes on it, which they didn't give me. I gotta hunt one up. Our shift solenoid, our linear solenoids go on here. This bracket goes on the bottom bolt right here. On these linear solenoids, if you got one that goes bad, my personal advice is do not put roster on there. I wouldn't use a roster solenoid on any Honda, especially the linear solenoids. And if you got a linear solenoid that goes bad, go find, if you can't afford the factory one, go find you a factory used one. You got much better odds of it working than the other way. Alright, the short bolts and the long bolts here. The long bolts were inch 992, short bolts were inch 596. You got a short bolt, real short bolt here, 10. Two 10s that are same size here, and our cover for our neutral switch with the two rubber deals on it. Dang, I wish I hadn't forgot to take that cover off of the camera. Alright, our tubes. Got banjo bolts. That hold those down. There's a washer on each side. The one with the tube on it goes over at the differential. And this one goes right here. The one with the washer on it holds this one in right here. There's a little short one goes right here. 17 millimeters on the banjo bolts. Alright, this clips onto that bracket right there. Alright, why you being like that? There we go. Alright. The O-ring for our torque converter, usually the torque converters come with them on there, but they do give you one in the kit. And I just gotta hump my gasket up and then we're done with this unit.